December 7th, 2022, Pearl Harbor Day. Well, um, 81 years ago. But anyway, I guess we've kind of have the midterm campaign is kind of over with the runoff in Georgia, with Warnock defeating Herschel Walker by over 2% of the vote. It'll probably go up. I think it'll stay under 3, but it'll be 2.5. It's a higher margin than he actually won the plurality in the general election. Total votes looking to be about maybe 3.6 million, give or take, versus probably more like 3.9 million in the general. So obviously, the Republicans failed to turn out all their people there, and the Democrats did a little bit better job of turning their people out. And I think they also got people out voting that didn't vote in the general election just for this one. So, so that's kind of how that ended up. Kind of a sad thing. I'm out a few dollars of campaign contributions on something that actually I thought was probably going to not work out too good anyhow, but I felt that not having proper commitment was not a good way to react to the situation. And so kind of the way things have ended up here. And another one of the Trump-picked candidates goes down to defeat, as did Dr. Oz in Pennsylvania. And I guess you kind of attribute Master to Trump, although Thurl, or however his name is pronounced, is also also kind of behind that one. And so otherwise, Trump-backed candidates, and well, most of the other ones weren't really uniquely Trump. Yes, Trump backed them, but they were, Vance, I guess you could say, was sort of a Trump-backed candidate, and but that was one that apparently got strong support from the Republican mainstream as well. But even then, if the governor's race hadn't been such a massive blowout, he might not have done as good as he did. And if Kemp had won by just a little bit more, maybe Walker would have got it too. But actually, Kemp did pretty good for Georgia, so can't fault him on that. And of course, Missouri, Schmidt. Well, Trump endorsed Schmidt, but there were two people running for Schmidt, named Schmidt, in the primary, and well, so that's not much of an endorsement. So at any rate, so that kind of leads us to where we are right now, with the Democrats with a 51-49 majority in the Senate, and it looks like the Republicans will have 222 to 213 in the House, except that one of the Democrats passed away, so that'll be to 212 for the near term until there's a runoff. And I think that district the guy comes from, I haven't really checked out. I believe it's probably a pretty strong Democrat district, so they'll probably be able to win that in a special election next year. So anyway, that's kind of where we're going to be here for the Congress, with good old Joe back in as president, for pushing all kinds of bad policies. And so anyway, if you like these videos, please give me a like, and subscribe if you're on Google, where you can, and we need to get more subscribers. I see somebody joined up yesterday. I appreciate that. So on to the rest of it. So anyhow, all in all, like I've looked out that in the House race, when you really look at the real situation, and I think the Republicans got a little over optimistic in this red wave talk, which might have been even a little detrimental. Might have scared the Democrats into coming out to vote. One thing you have to remember here is the last thing you want to do is scare the Democrats. If you scare the Democrats, they get mobilized, and they vote. If you don't scare them, they might just go to sleep on you, particularly when they're not really that motivated, otherwise. And that's one of the lessons learned here, I think. A little bit different. Well, I don't know whether the early voting versus late voting, like in this race, there was 1.9 million in the early voting and mail-in, and I think the rest of it would be 1.3 million in person voting today on election day. I guess if people have any real lack of confidence that whether they'll remember to vote or whether they'll be able to, I mean, doing it early is a good idea. Actually, from my years ago experience in Georgia, I tend to say vote on election day because it's a lot easier on you, actually. especially if you go there during the day, like at lunch period or something. But that was years ago, so not there anymore. Got out before, well, at any rate, whatever. But anyhow, that's our situation. Now, the other thing everyone I want to mention the House is we really look at we won the popular vote for House races by 3%, and we actually gained 3% of the total House membership also. So it worked out pretty good. Now, why didn't we get a lot more? Well, because we started off with 213 to begin with. See, we weren't coming from, say, a 185 or a 190 position like we were in some of those previous cases where there was a lot of turnover. And also remember that some of the people that we got rid of that voted to impeach Trump, well, they were the reason they did that was they were in very contested type, districts being swung by independents. And of course, once they were eliminated by somebody that would fully embrace Trump, well, they lost. That's because they're in a district full of a lot of Democrats and a lot of Democrat-leaning independents and a lot of real fuzzy-wuzzy, what we'll call the real independents, the ones that, voted for Bush, and then they voted for Obama, then they voted for Trump, then they got mad at Trump and voted for Biden, and who knows what they'll do next, those kind of people. The really, really confused voter. But in a district like that, that can be the outcome. So we lost, I think I'm trying to recall, 6, I think it was, of incumbent districts in this one too, which so we get, and I think that's part of the outcome. So on the other hand, I want to kind of address another thing here, which I kind of, is the situation with Twitter and the releases that Elon Musk has made and Trump. Because here's the thing, Trump was handed some really positive news there, I thought, that he was vindicated that, that they actually, the government had conspired to, okay, the FBI thing was held back because an FBI guy was the general counsel there and it's just been fired, but that's going to come out eventually, that the FBI was told them about this big new Russian disinformation, which is why part of the reason why the justification for not telling about the Hunter Biden laptop and all that, right? But okay, so that's the situation on that. But so he gets vindicated on that in fact it was set up and there was a conspiracy to hold it back. So what does he do? He could have just come out and said, I told you so. See, I was vindicated on this. No, he goes out and makes some kind of wild tweet demanding that all rules of the Constitution be suspended, that he be reinstated as president. Well, that can't happen. In fact, all the reaction to it by Democrats and all is also nonsense because they know that can't happen. It's not a threat to our system because it can't happen. Because there's no mechanism that would make it happen. So that's kind of the situation on that. Of course, the media, being unfairly is then trying to make a big deal about this and turning into the typical thing. But then he should know from his years of experience by now that that's what they're going to do. And you have to carefully watch what you say. And it's just another one of these crazy things, which will obviously hamstrung his presidential campaign. And by the way, of course, the real problem is presidential campaign is a guy named Jack Smith, the special prosecutor. And let's don't have any illusions. This guy is a real headhunter. He's really out to get him. And the guy is going to press some criminal charges. And I think, I don't know. I don't see how he doesn't get a conviction, frankly, because just the way the rules are, and particularly if this trial was held in D.C. with a D.C. jury, I mean, well, we'll see what happens on that, but I'm somewhat pessimistic, let's put it on that too. But anyhow, so that's kind of the situation as I see it. Going forward about the Congress, I guess the real issue now is, well, there is the question of the filibuster, which still is there. As it is, if the two Democrats remain committed to the filibuster, then even the fact they have 51 votes won't change it. They need, you know, however, they only have to pressure one of the two remaining people to change their position now. But the problem is, since the Republicans have the House, the real grandiose things that they really want to eliminate the filibuster to make revolutionary changes to the system, such as packing the Supreme Court with 4 liberal justices, or using a California-style voting system nationwide, or fully legalizing vote harvesting, and the Green New Deal, and giving citizenship to all these illegal immigrants we have in the country, which would totally change the voting pool and lock themselves into almost a permanent majority for the next generation at least. You know, these things I don't believe will be able to get through the House. I mean, right now we're having a rear guard action to do something on the so-called Dreamers, unquote. What a stupid name. They're not dreaming. They're just here illegally, and they're young people that were brought here and put in the country. But the point is that that's an area that there's an attempt being made right now, and I hope everybody tells their senators, the Republicans particularly, that we don't want that, and to hold off on anything like that until the border security situation is solved. And it isn't a matter simply of appropriating money, or even building a wall is important, but we also need to change the law first. We need to have a different set of laws so that people can't just come here for any old reason and ask for asylum when they're really not victims of any kind of political oppression. That has been way over abused to maximum extent. So, at any rate, that's an issue that's coming up too. So there's a lot to keep fighting for, and in reality, I think we're still in the battle, and we'll have to do better in the future. And so, at any rate, I think that's about it for now. I just thought I'd kind of do a quick reaction to the vote and the runoff and the situation with the Twitter, releases, I guess you'd call them. And as always, I'll post this on Rumble, and the addresses of my social media accounts will be in the description below. And so I'll wrap this up for now.